Rashmi from Recro again. Welcome back to Recro Talks. I hope you guys are doing great and staying safe. A quick introduction about myself. I am Rashmi again. I'm a community manager at Recro, wherein I'm working towards building an exclusive community for developers like yourself who can get connected with like-minded people, build your network, and grow professionally. A little bit about Recro, those who are joining us new here for the first time. Recro is a developer focused platform helping developers meet the right opportunity by connecting them with fast growing startups such as Comet, Udan, Swiggy, Dunzo, etc. So, welcome again to Recro Talks, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. Let me quickly introduce our guest speaker for the day. We have Nishit with us today. Nishit is working as a senior software engineer heading mobile and web PODs. He's a JavaScript enthusiast and he has worked on technologies like React, React Native, Electron, etc. Thank you so much, Nishit, for joining us.
Thanks, Rashmi. I see still more people joining. Regarding the micro frontends, right? What are the takeaways? So we'll go through each slide, and there are a little bit of, not little bit, but more of the hands-on of having the micro frontends. Like we'll try to do one particular use case, solve one particular micro frontend use case online, from scratch. So that is the main mode of these things. So when we ask, right, like why we need to go over the why did I choose the micro frontends? This because when we tell about this topic, I have been using it's very fresh. One thing, like it's been introduced on 2016, and it's very fresh. And I have been we have a lot of problem statements, and since past 3 months, like I'm into the micro frontend itself, like to get it in live. And since past 1 month, it's in production as well. So that is one thing I thought like I would be a better person to talk about this. And the next thing is like when we were doing a lot of research, like how to get into micro front end world, like there are very less video contents, a very less concrete approaches. Was one of the struggle which I had like when I was trying to bring micro front end architecture to the company. So to avoid, I do not want. So I thought this would be one of the good value addition to the open source market, so everyone can understand. Like there is one solid which explains what micro frontend is, and all my learning into one particular package and showcase to the world. So that is so these are the simple reasons and the main thing like where I chose this topic as the for the day. Coming to the micro frontends, right? There are a few takeaways like you can take back home, after these presentations. The first thing is the problem statements as a team or as a company which we faced, and how did we solve it, and how micro frontend was a main building block or main key to solve those problems. So that is one thing you would definitely know. And if you guys are also facing the same issues or the same problems in your company set, so you can propose the solutions as well. And then like, what are the reasons? Like there are a lot of micro front-end frameworks in the market, like every new day it's coming. So why did we use single spa? So like, what are the key features like we were getting from the single spa as developers? And why did not we use for the other methods? So just a gist about that. And like we'll dive deep into what single spa is, from the framework level, then understand what these keywords like import maps, like why is it required, like how to use it in the real-time applications. And we'll try to learn about what is a container and what are applications, and what is a parcel, what is a utility module. So we'll try to understand all these keywords of a single spa, so that tomorrow if you go, if you want to implement on your own, and if you go to the single spa web page, and if you just learn or read the, or I reiterate over the documentation, you should be in a better position to understand what exactly the author is telling. So we'll try to understand most of the concepts of a single spa, and we'll try to understand not understand but use the utility methods. Like I'll try to use almost 60 to 70%. The 100% coverage may not be possible due to the time constraints. So but I'll be trying to use around 60 to 70% of the methods what a single spa provides us for the developers. So these will be the key takeaways, like after the 1 hour of the presentation or 1 hour of the entire session. Okay, so coming to the problem statement, like why we actually as a team or as a company, like why we started thinking towards micro front ends. In the entire session, like whenever I mention product means a group of developers working for one particular goal. So that is a product. Like for Amazon e-commerce, it's a product. So and there are a lot of pages, or there are a lot of teams, right? So product is one thing. Like whenever I mention the product, it means that there is it's a bunch of few applications or few features. Okay, so for us, like for example, we have a product called Platform 2.0, and there are a lot of product lines inside that. Like for example, let us take we have attendance, we have background verification, we have payroll. So these are the product lines. So but our entire product is called Platform 2.0. So in the entire session, like whenever I mention product, it is just like one whole idea, the one whole goal, and the product lines are the sub part of it. So sub part of the entire product. So what happened for us, right? Like when the new features or the new, we keep on adding the new product line, our code base would actually increase a lot. So, and there were more than 30 to 40 commits each day to one single repository itself. So why is this bad? Like if you ask me, the one thing is like the maintenance of the code goes to a toll if the code base keeps on increasing, if there is no limit on the code bases. And every developer from each product team, right? Like for example, I work inside a payroll team, and someone like on the payment pages, and someone work on the home pages. So we both work on the same repository. It's not a good idea. So if he changes, like if that other developer changes some of the key functionalities on, and that is affecting me without my knowledge. So the dev collaboration needs to be very much high. And in the huge companies or the companies with a lot of developers working, and the company vertical is into different section, you wouldn't have a direct communication. Probably it should happen over certain leads or over an architect. You would not have direct access to them as well. So this is also one of the greater disadvantages which we were facing. And we had written our own components, like for input, drop down. We had written all these components, but what had happened, anyone want to develop a new component or like change the way the drop down is working. Okay. So these things were not possible. Means it was possible, but each team needs to get those newer version of the codes. So we want to eliminate this as well. And whenever there is a changes done by each developer in a single file, there were a lot of conflicts. Like there were days like we had resolved the conflicts for more than 30 minutes. So because of the number of code commits happening was quite huge. And like to handle all these things, we still had the product wise branching on the Git. Like everyone wants to work on their own product branch, and that product branch would come into dev whenever there was a release, and that dev branch would merge to all the product branches again. So we were trying to handle these things. Like it was more like a hack, but not a solution. So when we started thinking over the micro frontends, right? So we had certain solutions on on our mind. The first thing what we did was the cleanup of the codes, like make sure like everyone follows one single type of coding language. And then we removed our entire component library and we named it as Better Place UX. And we kept it outside the entire repo. So now no one can change the component libraries, like the UI libraries. So if there was any change, then it is just like they need to raise a change request, and we would change it, and we would release it as a new version, and everyone just need to upgrade. So all the product team would get it instantaneously. Previously, this changes was needed to be on the dev branch itself, and that dev branch needs to be merged to all the product branches. So if there are any communication difference between these teams, this was not happening properly. So now the handling the entire component library to making it as a component library, solve one particular problem. And we turned everything, we derived one theming point and we derived everything to in one file. So all the themings were sorted out. Then we went towards the micro front ends. So this is the main crux. So even though we did all these things, we could not avoid the conflict between the products, right, and the monolithical structure. So we broke that monolithical structure into the micro front end. So this the main thing what I'm trying to tell is like the solutions what micro front ends can give it to us. So it's more like the stories so far, like why did we went towards the micro front ends. So these were the main reasons, like the stepping stones, like why we started thinking to migrate our entire code base to the micro front end architecture. So we were telling like micro front ends, right? So since last 10 minutes. So to understand micro front ends, it's pretty easy. Like it extends the concept of microservices. So now what are microservices? So in like if you have an exposure to the backend, in backend, there are a lot of services listed. Okay, so microservices are a group of code. Okay, that is responsible only to for the particular services itself. So if I'm there's a payment service. So this payment service is a microservice. So it takes care of all the APIs that is related to the payment only. So there is a clear difference between and there is an authentication service. Authentication service has the code blocks. It has a different repo itself where it only handles the code related to the authentication only. So there are no cross communication between the codes, between the payment service microservice and your authentication microservice. So this concept was extended to the front end stack as well. So in the front end stack, let us assume there is a home page and there is a category page. So from the home page, you click on the category and you will land into the category page. So what the micro front end tells is that at the end of the day, your category page and your home page can be two different projects itself. So it's up to either your framework or through your code, you can call that particular entire different project whenever the category button is clicked. So your DOM takes care of rendering a different code chunk now. So and it refreshes to a different code chunk, and your new component, your new project gets loaded to the DOM. So this is the what the micro front ends are. So previously I told a keyword called monolith. Monolith is just like you have a huge code base, like you have one code base where every team member is actually committing the code. So that is the monolith. It doesn't differentiate and it doesn't get aligned with the organization verticals, like the payroll team, like for example, the payment team, category team, home team, and we'll take shopping team. All the teams will be working on one single code repository or one single particular code block where each code are interrelated to each other. Like for example, they share a common folder, or probably they share a common utility module or share a common component. So if one person changes something there, and it would affect the entire product, right? So this is called as monolith. So now we are like a backend has already moved a lot to the microservices, but the front end it's been introduced on 2016. So people have not moved that much to the micro front ends. So it's not that not every person know what micro front ends are. So now if we see the second block diagram, so based on the team, like it completely aligns with the organization verticals. So team Inspire, like let us take a team Inspire. So team Inspire work only on certain product itself. So on their own repository, on their own set of people, and team Inspire would have a Inspire microservices. So you have one designated team, which will work only on one particular goal. So, and it's not related to your product, means it is related to your product anyways, but it's not related to the code where your product lies. Like for example, there can be a day where your product can be on Angular and your Inspire team would be developing on React. So so now you have removed the tech, like you get a lot of tech freedom, like so that is also one of the good things. to happen. So this is the entire idea. So now if you see, there is a clear differentiation between the teams, and each team will be working on different repo. And whenever the code chunk needs to navigation, based on the navigation or based on certain things, you just call up that particular code chunky of DOM. So now your entire DOM has the other code from the other repository. The build file comes and it just loads up. So this is the entire idea of the micro frontends and how it could actually solve a lot of issues. Like what are the advantages is it's tech independent. Like your entire product, your entire main container or your product would be built on React, but someone needs to learn Vue and they made a small and there is a new feature coming in and you want to build it in Vue.js, and you can do it as a MFE. So that is one thing. And the code isolation. So there is no dependency from any other team to your particular code base. So your code and it's your team's code. So no one from the other team can come and check in your code, check in their code to yours. And if there any breakage in the in their code, that is not affecting yours code. So that is the code isolation. Like so it enhances the lot of maintainability. Like after few years, right? Like if you want to maintain the code, it's pretty easier. And the less interdependency from other teams. This is what we were discussing. So it's completely isolated. So we don't need to check in what other team is doing, like what framework they're using, like what are the version of React they are using. Are they using class components or the hooks? So it's irrespective of that, you can you can still be using whatever you like. You can follow your own coding way of coding. So that is one of the advantages. Like there are certain disadvantages as well. Like the build time would be much more because there will be a lot of repetitive modules. Like other team would be using React. So the moment this framework loads, it needs to load Vue.js, right? So these types of increasing of the bundle would be one of the things. And like let us assume like you're using the same framework as well, but someone uses moment.js and someone uses day.js for their product. So there are two different types of libraries again getting loaded for the same goal, right? So this is one of the things which even we are facing, like how to reduce the build, but it can be done. But the main thing is you need to invest time there. And any library, we have something called a shared module system. You can do it there as well. But the thing is the maintainability is much more there. So how does the typical MFE use case looks like? This is one of the best examples which I had got. If you see this entire red border, right? So that is your team product, means that is your entire product. And that has a certain model to definitely show to the user. And you see team inspire, that is telling certain related to the tractor, it is telling certain other features where the user can buy. So there is definitely a prop sharing or the data sharing between two micro frontends. And there is certain other buttons here, like which is a team checkout is independently actually developing it. So we'll try to mimic this similar use case, definitely not on the UI and UX, but definitely on we'll try to boot up 2 to 3 different micro frontends in one single container, and we'll try to share props between them. And we would not be able to do this particular thing, like the blue border, like in two different places. It's not the it's just like it's not the part of this session. I'll let you know like in the future slides, but we'll try to do something like this. Like we have one entire product, and inside that we'll try to load around 2 to 3 micro frontends with even sharing the props between the container and 2 different micro frontends. So that is one thing we can definitely do in this session. Going to the next, like why single spa? Like why did we actually arrive to the single spa? Like when we were doing certain R&D, right? So we had there is a micro frontend federation. Module federation, which gives certain idea of how to develop a micro frontend and all. So we read all those things and we tried to trigger using an iframe, but iframe is not that performant, and we had a lot of issues on the responsiveness, and the styling also we got certain issues. So we definitely eliminated out the using the iframe, and we can directly do without using any framework, like just with the webpacks we can do it. But the main thing was like the lot of customizations are required on the webpacks as well, like when to load which chunk. So this was required. And we like there were an use case like when we try to architect or when we try to do this one-time activity, like to bring something new to the organization. It's based on a very long term, like we think on a very long term. So we wanted to support different types of framework as well. Like if tomorrow we want to use Vue, then we should be able to do that. So keeping all this in mind, like we thought of going to the single spa. So normally people call it as single SPA, but the author calls it as single spa. So I'm maintaining the same nomenclature. So this single spa has around 4 types of utility, 4 types of applications, or 4 types of different categories. The first thing is called the root application. I have not added it here. I'll let you know the reason as well. This root application is only responsible for booting up the other application parcel or modules. But normally when we try to migrate, right? So we would not have the root application. Root application would be your existing application itself. So currently I have one of the existing application. So I'm using that as a root application. So where your entire product is there. And apart from that, we have other 3 types of application. One is called as single spa applications. So these are like the application itself. Like for example, your home, like for example, your home is an entire application. Like it has navigation to the card, it has the user info, and if it has a lot of use cases, right? So we can call it as an application. So that is one thing. Or if you see Amazon, like Amazon Prime itself is an application. So it's a micro front end. So you can call it like that as well. So that is the single spa applications, where it renders based on the different routes. So each route can be a different application. So based on the complexities. So that is one of the things, like a single spa applications. There's another thing called as single spa parcels. Okay, so these parcels are nothing but they do not come over the routes. Like you can just boot it as a component. So that is what they have done here. Like this basket and this buy is just like a parcel. So they are just calling it here and they are calling it here. So it's more like that. So it's just a parcel. And utility modules are just like it is just a common a JavaScript logic which you want to keep it, and every micro frontend should be able to use it. Like just to give an example, like there's an interceptor you have written. Like every time there's an API call, then you need to add certain token. So not every product team should do this. So you write this as an utility module and you invoke it on the product itself. Just load it to the DOM. So they just need to import it. So rest everything is taken care by that utility module. Or you have written a custom hook to get the details from certain profile API, or you have written or to get certain values from the cache or from the cookies. So you have written a custom hook. So, and that needs to be used by every product. So this is an utility module. So you can keep one utility module that can be used across all the products. So these are the 4 basic things we have. And there are, like, this table provides a very vivid differentiation between them. So applications means based on the routing logic, we just trigger that particular application. So this is what we are trying to see today, like based on different routes, how we can mount different applications, like mount 2 or 3 applications on the same route. So try to do and pass props from the parent, like from the container to your micro front end. So we'll try to do all these activities in today's session in the coding, like when we open the Visual Studio Code. And on the parcels, like it has no routes. Like if you see here, it doesn't have any route. So you just trigger it. It's just like a component. You just trigger it like whenever you need it. And utility does not have a route. So you just need to import it whenever you need. So API or declarative APIs means the mounting of that particular application, or unmounting it or unloading it will be taken care by the single SPA itself. So you do not need to do it. But for the parcel, you need to mount it, means on certain conditions, you need to mount that particular component. So that is on the parcel. On the utility, it's just like a public export. You just need to import it. And rendering UI, definitely your application should render UI and your parcel should render the UI. Utility based on the use case, like if your use case is rendering UI, it renders, else it does not. And there are a lot of lifecycle methods like single SPA application has like bootstrap, mount, error boundary, and unmount. These are the life cycles we have, which is managed by single SPA itself. Like these are the APIs which I was talking about a moment ago. And the parcel doesn't have any, it's just like you boot it up and you unmount it based it on the conditions. And like when to use application, like if you're building any core logics, like entirely different application or a different route, it's always good to use applications there. Normally application would be our main concern. We will not choose a micro front end for a small buttons, right? So we have never done that just because we do not want to do it. Like just one particular component, placing it as a micro front end is a very bad idea. It's not a that great idea. So based on the applications, based on the routes, based on different applications, it's good to use applications. And parcel is useful like when you need to use multiple frameworks. Like inside applications, you need to use React everywhere if your container is React. But in parcel, it overrides that particular condition. You can use any of your framework. So that is the advantage of parcel. And utility is just for the sharing of the common logic or creating certain services or rendering certain UI. So that is the utility purpose. So for today, we'll be just going over the application. So that itself is a huge process on the initial setup. So on the setup side, like what I'm doing here, just to understand, like I'm just using the npx create React app. Normally it creates a React app, and I'm calling it as a retro product. So let's assume that it's an entire container for us. It's a base app. That's the entire organization goal, and that's where everyone are working on. And let us. I'm just going to a retro product, and I'm ejecting it. The reason why I am ejecting it is just like Webpack gives us much more handier to play around. So that's the reason I'm ejecting it. And I'm installing the single SPA and I'm installing the router, because to mount on different applications based on different routes, I'm using the router. And so this is the main application. So I have already done the setup. So this is not a part of live because it's pretty straightforward. And I'm creating around 4 applications. Like first application is called home, and the second application is called categories, and the third application is called checkout, and the fourth is called inspire. So we'll try to mount all these applications, and we'll try to do certain, we'll just try to play around. And how do you create all these things? Is just like you just need to use this particular command, npx single SPA, create single SPA, and you make the module type as app parcel. So I'm just sharing my screen, like the Visual Studio Code screen. This checkout and home and inspire, which I have already created using the single SPA thing. And this retro product is npx create React app, and I have ejected. You see the Webpack configuration, everything. It's eject right. So I have not written these things. So this is the thing. Like we have not. We'll just go over this. Like I'm creating a new application. So like we have something called as category, right? So which we wanted to create. So that I had left out just so that I can show this how this command works. So I'm creating a parcel, which is an application parcel. See, the thing is, I'm using Node 10.16.3. Normally, this works better with better than more than 14. It's always good. So I'm just switching it to Node 14.16. So make sure that you're in this particular version. This is pretty much good. So now I'm trying to create a single SPA application of type application and parcel. So I'm naming it as category because that is a category which that is the MFA which I want to tell. And the framework I want to use is React. And I choose ARN or NPM, and I'm not using TypeScript. And This is the organization name. I'm keeping it as Recro, and the project name is category. So now the single spot takes right. It just tries to have its own thing. I'll just try to explain like what all it tries to do. So here you see, right, like single spot React has its own lifecycle method. This React and React DOM is coming from, it's telling it's a React application. And what is the root component? Like what it needs to route, right? So this is the route component. So which is telling that props.name is mounted. And this props can be passed from your container. So we'll try to do these things as well. And there's an error boundary. Like for example, something had got broken here, and what exactly you need to display here? Like you need to display like hello, there is some error. So you can do that. So you need to trigger an error, and it works. So this is the error boundary. Like something happened in your component, and some error came. So and you can display the error as well. So you get all the props, info, and everything else. So you can do this as well. So that is the main thing. And here you can, like, it's just like a React application. You can install React Router DOM, and it can have a lot of other routes like home slash something else, like this inspire slash categories, inspire slash something else. So it's just like a different React application. So right now what I'm doing, I'm just coming to the main product called as Recro product, and I'm just starting this. And let me start one of the MFE as well. Like just first we'll try to do home. I'm running it on port 9000, so it doesn't affect any of the other projects. So I'm coming to Inspire now. Like actually, I'm coming to home, so it's better. Okay, and I'm doing npm start. So this is Webpack, and again the thing is I need to use the better node version. So this is running in localhost 8080. So let me just open this. Okay, so it's just telling that your micro frontend is not here. So it is telling that there's an application, but it's not here. So you can run it in the standalone mode as well. So if you try to see the package.json, if you see this, there's something called standalone. Okay, so so this will try to run it like it doesn't need a content wrap. It just runs on its own. But we'll do it a bit later. So I have one micro frontend called home, which is already running. And I have my root app running on localhost 9000. Let's just check. Okay, so there is one page called landing page, which is let me just open this. So you see there is one landing page here. So let me just open the code. Okay, so I'm creating a new page called home page. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I just need to, sorry. So I just need to start doing certain basic setup. So what I'm doing on the basic setup is like we need to add certain import maps. So I'll just let you know like what all these things are. So inside the scripts, I'm adding certain things called import map.json, and like why it is required. All these things we'll just see. So import map JSON is to tell that which are micro frontends which I'm registering. Okay, so we need to tell, right? So which all micro frontends this particular app has. Okay, so first thing is like it's a JSON which contains imports. This is just like a one-time setup. And like for example, I'm telling that there is one particular micro frontend called a Recro home. It's a organization name which I had given, and it's the application name. It follows the same standard, and it is running on localhost 8080. Is it? This is how it is. Like how did I get this link actually? Like if you see here, it has the particular link. Okay, so that's where it is booted up. So I'm just adding this. So and where this import map.json is used, if you see just we need to add it in the HTML script tag. So I'll just open the index.html, and I'll just bring the import map. So it is just like I'm registering my MFE. So I'm just linking it here. Okay. Now we see something called as type system.js type import map. So this system.js is one thing that is designed for to understand what import map is. and to register those micro frontends inside the our DOM, right? So we need to have the system.js. So I have a file ready with me. I just need to bring this. So it's just the min file. You can keep it as a CDN as well. I'm keeping it inside the system, inside the scripts. So I just have it handy here. So it's just like one-time setup. You do not need to, and you get it as a CDN as well. So you can just add it and wait. And the moment I get it, I just need to add it inside my HTML, telling that you need to use this particular system. So I'm just taking it and I'm using here. So this is telling that there is a system min.js, and that in turns use import map.json to register all my MFAs. Now this only this configuration would not be enough. So this say a single spa, right? So so this is where you actually share all the dependencies. So like for example, every our Recro home users or our Recro checkout or Recro category, all these things uses React, right? So this even React needs to be shared. So you can use it as CDN again, or I'm just bringing the min file again. So I'm just keeping the React min. So this will be accessed by all the other framework, and everything need to use single spa. I am bringing the single spa as well. So now this way the module sharing has happening, and everything needs to use React DOM as well. So all these things are CDN as well. So you can use it as CDN. So rather than giving the relative path here, you can use the CDN itself. So this would be your setup looks like one basic import map. How does it look? So the first three things are like mandatory, like the single spa is required. And the second one is the React. This is shared across all your MFEs, so that the next MFE which loads, right, next application that loads, that doesn't need to load React again. So that's what I'm trying to tell. So it is like sharing the dependencies, and React DOM, even this as well. So I have kept all these three files. And there is another thing like Recro home, like where exactly this is running. This is running on port 8080. So this one of the basic thing. Like tomorrow I'm using Moment, and I want every application to use Moment itself. Then I just bring the Moment min.js, or I just link the Moment CDN, and I tell that Moment. So everyone who uses Moment needs to will be shared from this import map itself. So no one need to install it as a library. So, but it's just like it's very difficult, right? So that's what I was telling. Even though we were able to do it, we cannot do it, even though there is a method, because you need to keep on, someone needs to keep on tracking it, like which all libraries each application is using. So this is the basic setup on the import maps that we have done. And this is how it should look like. So adding a new application will be adding a new route here. So now on the app.js, I'm just creating a new route. I'm just calling it as a path, and I'm telling it as home. Okay. And when I land this, right, when I land into this page, something should actually load here. Okay. So I need to tell my this DOM that I'm just uncommenting this because there is certain code which we need to still write. So it's just like more like a placeholder code. So when I go to home, right, I need to tell my React, or I need to tell my app.js that you need to load Recro home, right? So how do we do it? So single spa give us some utility method, okay, from single spa. It gives something called as register application. So when it needs to register, I'm telling it as use effect. So whenever this app initially loads, right, then I'm just making it as, it is more like a component did mount. Then I'm telling that you need to register one application. So which application is that? So if you see, it's an app name. So what is the app name we are given here? So it is Recro home. So I'm doing it. So this is the app name. And the next thing is it's a loading function. So I need to load this app. So who is responsible for loading this app is system.js. But the system.js is inside the script. So it doesn't come into the context of React. So I just need to use window dot system, and I'm telling system to import, like import what? Import Recro Home. So this is our application, right? And then see, applications are rendered based on the locations or based on the path. So this location it gives. So when you need to load this, when location dot path name equal to home, right? So this thing, and if you want to pass any props, okay, like here I'm just passing some prop called as name, not name. Name is already there, so I'll pass it as route. Okay, so I'm just passing it as location dot path name. Okay, I'm just passing it as home. Okay, so this is just the passing of props. The moment this, so this is the entire registration thing, like the app name and import the app, when to load that app, and this is the props, like what are the props you need to send. The moment I'm doing this, I need to tell that you need to start this micro front end, like start listening for these routes. So when I do this, now I need to provide when this component here, right? So I need to tell that which micro front end you need to load, right? So I just need to load a div, and this div has a very apt structure. The first thing is the framework name. It is easy to remember, like that, single spark, and it's an application, right? We are not loading a parser, so it's an application. And what is the application, right? It's a Recro Home. Recro Home, and I'm telling it should be an exact. So, I'm sorry, it should be an ID. So now let's just go to our web. Okay, so you get this error because if you just go to here, go to this console and try to check this error, you get all these things, like what is telling that it's a duplicate app name. So it has been already registered. So why this error came up is just like based on the control save which I was doing. So it was keep on registering. You can avoid that as well. I'll show how to do it. So if you go here, if you say Recro Home is mounted now. So there is a interesting, yeah, just a second. So let us just see the props as well. So let's go inside the Recro Home. We'll just close all the setup. So this is just the initial setup. So now it's like you and your product and your micro front end. So let's go inside the home and let's see, this is the particular root component which is being loaded. So let's try to see the props, what it's getting, right? And let's try to, this browser is bad. And I mean, let me open a different browser. I have a loaded certain extensions. Okay, I'm doing this. So this has the single spec extension. Okay, localhost 9000, I expect it. So this I can show you certain thing. If you see, there's something called a single spa inspector. If you see, it has been mounted, okay, but it has not loaded. So you can see now, like I'm doing on home, and if you see now it got mounted. So it's mounted on the dev. So if you see the props, if you see the name, and this is the route which we had, this is the other props which he had passed. And here we get all the single spa, other single spa things, like where it is bootstrapping or if it is loading or something else. So this is the thing. So you are able to even pass the props as well. So based on the home, right? Like based on the route, I'm loading a different MFE. So, and the next time if you see, like I went here, and now if I come here, so it automatically got unmounted. And now if I come here, if you see, it got mounted again. So if you do the same thing for a category, it's pretty simple. Like you just need to start the category MFE here, like just open and switch to a different node version, and yeah, use 14.16.1 and then you start. Okay, I'm in a different thing. Yeah. Okay, and if you see, this is running on port 8081. So I just copied this. So this on the localhost. So I just remember the port. I come here and go to my import map. Just copy this, and the few changes which I need to do is the port is 8081. I'm sorry, 8081, and it is a category, and this is category. The one thing you need to make sure that you have to be checking the spelling names if there is one mistake anywhere, right? So it doesn't work. And now you want to you don't want this, and you want to come here, and whenever there is a route called category, you need to load category, right? And this is coming here, and the same thing. It's just like you just copy paste this. So you can create an utility module. Like I'll show how to do that as well. You do not need to keep on uh, writing this boring stuff. So it's just this now. But anytime you change this import map.json or this index.html, like not that, like it's a basic thing. Like if you are changing anything on the public, you just need to restart your server because your public code are not listened in the only the src files are loaded. Okay, now you see, right? There is recro home that got mounted because I was in the home route, but there's another category. So how does it get this name is like how this it get all this data is from the import.json. So I'm just category, you see recro category got mounted, and if you see the console, it doesn't print because I have not given the I have not consoled the props here. If I go here and control the props, so that's one of the this very basic thing. But let us try to go much more complicated one. Something we'll try to have something like this. Like there should be a keep on translation of props, right? From one MFE to another MFE. We'll try to have this particular use case. We'll try to have that one thing. So to do that, I'm just calling a new route uh, called as, I'm calling it as a catalog. Okay. I'm just calling it as catalog. And whenever catalog comes in, I'm just and just like more like a suggestion, like I'm not following like any folder structure here. So this would not be a good project, a good reference for a folder structure. Okay, so this catalog.js is import. I'm just importing React. Okay, I'm trying to do this, and I'm just telling const catalog. Cancel the catalog. Catalog. And I'm just returning the same thing, like hey catalog. And this should be responsible for loading, doing certain things and loading 2 or 3 MFEs. So and I'm just using it here. Oh, I have done that. Okay, so this will be just a catalog thing. Like you just need to load catalog, and let me just check. Okay, so I'm getting this. So I'm writing one. See, this utility function would be very common. Like you can write it in. I'm just writing in util.js. Util.js. It's because like whenever you need to unmount any MFE, like I'm just rather than copying and pasting the same thing, you can write just like as we did here, right? Rather than like this, we can just try to like handle all the cases. Like sometimes we are getting error here, right? So we can handle all the cases for that, and we can try to mount any application using that particular function. But before that, we'll just try to add certain functionality. Like I have a very small snippet here. I'll try to bring in that. I'm just copy pasting these things so that these things are not the scope of what we are doing. I'm just trying to write an incremental function that keeps on incrementing, and that incremented value should be passed to any one of the MFE. So that is the use case, so that you can see how the MFE behaves. And I'm just adding one button here. So I'm just creating a fragment. Okay, just having these things, and let me just set the code one. Okay, this code is working fine. Cool. So what we'll try to do now, like every time I click on increment, right? It should send this value to the other micro front end. So normally this would be a very, very harsh use case. Like what I'm trying to show is like, even this is also possible. But we need to compromise on certain performance, not the performances, certain loading issue. Like normally we'll not keep on passing props at this pace. If it would have been, it would have been in a single component itself. Like whenever the page is mounting itself, like if we see this particular MFE, whenever the page mounts, we get to know it's a tractor, and this ID will be passed to this MFE at one shot, and the ID of the tractor will be passed to this Inspire MFE, and they make an API call and get all these details. So it is just like more like an ID transaction. Like the number of transaction is still less, but what I'm trying to tell is like even these types of like very worst cases is also a possibility. So what we need to do is like every time there is a change in increment, right? So I'm just writing an use effect for it, which listens to the increment. Okay. So well, anytime there's a change in increment, then we need to keep on sending certain props to the MFE, right? So that is what we want to do it. So I'm writing an util function, so which can be used for more, which tries to handle everything else. Like what I'm trying to do is I'm just telling a function, naming it as export const, mounting. First of all, I'm trying to mount it, and I'm trying to mount with prop value, and also yeah. So this is one thing with mount with prop. So this one common function I'm calling it as. So it is the same structure. I'm writing the same structure, nothing more. Like the first thing is it takes the prop, and the next thing is it takes the name and the route. Like for example, which route you need to actually display. Okay, so normally why all these things I'm taking here. If you see the app.js, like if you want to make this as a common function, util functionality, you need the name. So that's what I'm passing. You need the route, which route you need to load, and you need to pass the props, right? So we need all these things. So currently, let us assume that we are loading this checkout, and we are loading this home page on this catalog.js. So to do that, the first thing I need to run these MFEs, right? So like these products, right? So cd inspire, and change the node version NVM 16.1 and npm style. So this is running on 8082. So I just go to import map and register it. Even this works. And so I have registered one more MFE, and the other MFE which I want to register is checkout. Checkout.
Hey Nishit, just a quick question I wanted to ask. How much time do we have to do the Q&A?
Like, it's just around 10 minutes more, like if it is okay.
Okay.
That should be fine, right?
Yeah, that should be fine as long as people are here and they are willing to learn. I don't have a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's take a general opinion on that, like if that is okay with everyone. Or
Guys, we although the session was scheduled for 1 hour, let us know if like we can take it to 10 15. We can take 10 to 15 more minutes, and then we will do Q&A.
okay. Uh,
Awesome.
cool. So, okay. Oh, I'm just trying to cut down one small thing. I'm okay. So, what I'm doing here, like, first thing is, let me try to. These are the certain things which I was telling, like, what all utility method you get. The first thing is the registering application. That is one thing you get, and you get to know when to start the MFA. So that is also one thing we have learned. And the next thing is unloading the application. Like you can unload the application at any point of time. Like that's in the user's hand. And there's something called as unregister the application, which we'll not use it right now. Just due to the, I'll try to, I'm just getting the code snippet here. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here, okay, it's pretty much simple. Like initially, I'm just trying to unload the application. I'm just checking because every time we click on Control Save, right? So it keeps on executing it. Like every time I click on increment, it tries to register a new application. So that I do not want it. So what I'm trying to do here is like every time I'm registering the application, before that I'm just checking like if application exists, then just unload it. So irrespective of catch or irrespective of your unload is done, irrespective of that, you register it. So that's what I'm just telling it. And if there's an error, like if this gives an error, just to make sure of if there's an error, even though there's an error, it just means that the unload application has not worked. It normally works if there's an app. So if there's no app, then it's just a registration. So it's just like handling that, and I'm just starting the MFE. So even here I'm starting it. So even both the states I'm starting it. Like even though it comes wherever, so it should start. So that is the entire model we have here. And like how do we use this method? Like it's just like very simple. Like I go to this particular catalog, and every time the use effect runs, like I'm just telling that you just mounted the prop, and the prop would be value of the prop would be incremental, like incremented value. And what is the name? Like we taught to use at Recro Inspire, right? Inspire. So this is what we thought of using. And what is the route? Like you need to route is catalog. So in this route, you need to actually display, right? Yeah. So now if you see this, okay, and let me just go to the Inspire and go to root of it, and then just control.props. Okay, just a second. I just need to make it localized. And I change the input map. I'm just running it once again. Catalog produces some issue. Yeah. So okay, this is wrong. I'm not sure like from where it came. Yeah. Okay. So if you see on the catalog, you see that increment 0 came in, and you just keep watch on this. Okay, just a second. I'm just checking what has happened. Okay, duplicate application name just in this. Okay, so okay, what I'm trying to, okay, the one thing I forgot. So what I'm not doing here is like whenever there's a change, right? I'm not unregistering the application here. So that is one thing I had forgot. So you need to unregister the application every time if you want to pass a new props. So it's just a try catch, and unregistered application is one thing. So now it's like every time this user effect is happening, you're just unregistering it and incrementing it. Let me just check. Okay, so let me reload the application once again. Okay, so I think I missed something else. Let me just check if it and it should work. Just give me a second. Okay, I'm returning it here, and this is where it comes lecture. So this is proper, and my mount with prop is working. Okay, I see things working fine. Just a second, let me. Okay, I'm not sure about this. Just give me a second. Uh, so this should work. The main thing what I'm suggesting is something I would have done something here wrong. So anyways, like I have a different reference which I'll be sharing it. By the time we can take on the questions, by the time I fix this, so we don't waste much time here. I'm saying that in case of vertical team, for example, checkout team will have their front end and back end as single code base. Can you separate it? Any best practice around it? Like normally you can like front end and back end is you can always separate it out. Like you not like it's not necessary to keep front end and back end in a single repo itself. So that is always a possibility is there. The next question, like how are we achieving SPA and micro frontend without single SPA? Let's say if you have a catalog page link in home, so do we use location.href internally? Like I'm just reading. How are we achieving SPA in SPA in micro frontend without single SPA? Like without single SPA, there are if you want to really use it, then it's just like there are without if you want to do it like you can use what iframes is one thing we have explored, but there are a lot of issues on that. So that is one thing. And do we use location.href internally? Like if you do not want to use single SP application, if you are talking about the parcel you can try to load it whenever you want. Like that is entirely dependent on you. And how to handle the shared dependency. For example, if you have common shared UI library, yeah, that is what like in the import map.json, you can give the CDN or the entire the CDN, or you can download your min.json, keep it in the scripts. Just how did we share React and React DOM? So that is how you can use it. How would the application will still be a single space application when we literally loading separate application on different routes? The page reloads. The page actually doesn't reload. The why we are reloading it here is just like I do not have the I'm not given the buttons. So that is the reason like we were not we see the page was reloading, but internally it doesn't reload it. Like we do not need to reload it.
How big are the difference between choosing single SPA or module federation based MF? Which one is better in your perspective?
Like it depends based on the amount of time you guys have. Like for example, in the module federation, they have their own way of telling it. But this single SPA actually provides more things. Like it provides more customization. So that is one thing you really get. And the documentation of them is really good. So that is also one thing. And it comes in line with the model federation. So it's still easier. Like you get to like the thing is like it's more easier to learn and much quicker to implement. You do not need to like even for the existing code base, it's quite quicker and faster.
Can we use state management library in parent app for sharing states between MFS?
Yeah, we added that. Like if you see, we added what we like we did that like we tried to added a state either from it doesn't mean like it is from the Redux or it is not from the Redux. That doesn't matter. Like we have used the state from the React itself.
In single SPA, how will you maintain common assets like common vendors, common components, common CSS?
Like, yeah, how did we do that? Like, before trying to migrate everything before, right? What we did is we created our own component library first. So that is the first thing we did. Okay. So after that, what we did, like we made that one touch point theme. Like before that, we need to make these things handy. Else, what happens? Like you would not be able to get these things. Like means it will, your code base will still always be growing ahead. So to make sure that these things will not happen, all the common models should be exported as a library, like not only just using the single spark, like it needs to be taken care for each and everything else as well. So that is the also one thing. So that we already have done it. So that is when your micro front end, your code is micro front end ready. Else you need to keep on adding it. Like you just need to keep on what do you call? Like you just need to keep on having the same redundant code.
So the question is, how much do you think React.js or Mon stack is going to be in demand in future?
Like it's already in demand. And why React is becoming much more popular in the front end world is because of the easy to learn and the amount of load it is able to handle and the amount of performance it's able to deliver. And the moment you are learning React, like you have a huge exposure toward the mobile applications using React Native as well. So that is also one thing. And if you are like if you want to develop desktop applications, so you have Electron. So it's just like more rapid. So it just gives more power for any of the developers who is learning it. So it leverages much more power for the developers to like you just need to learn one stack and the other stack is already with you.
So the next question is around MQTT. I'm not sure if it is relevant to today's session, but it says, what is MQTT and how we use it to develop front-end application?
MQTT is a mosquito protocol. Like why it is used is like it's more like it's just more like the communication towards the IoT. Like for example, normally your smartwatches communicate to it happens over the Bluetooth. But if you want to communicate your smartwatch to your web application, right? So these are achieved over the MQTT protocol. So it's not much relevant to this topic, but I had been working with I had worked with one of the small projects. Yeah, so that is the on the MQTT protocol. But the working code of Chunk is on the Git repo. Like they just need to yeah, they just need to go and clone the repo. It's just the same code. Probably I have missed some due to certain things. I probably have missed certain one particular code block. So that is it will not be working. But there's already a working code in the Git repo. So that link they can get in this community channel. So regarding this, like if you just go to GitHub, I'll just show like we have this particular Recro MFE. So this has a branch like Recro reference. So you can get all the, like if you just see the commits. If you get a chance to look on the commits, so that commit will exactly let you know like all the changes what we have done. So you would have already, so you just need to clone it and run each product and do npm start on each thing, and you can just move to different route. And almost every code what you have done, right? So it's here.
All right, everyone, this brings us to the end of this wonderful discussion. I hope you guys had a great time and learned something from today's session. Just to wrap it up, few things that I would like to share with everyone. If you, as I said, you will find all the resources in the community, which is called Recro Tech Circle. The link of being a part of the community is in the chat. So make sure you join and say hi and introduce yourself. Also, we are hiring developers. If you are exploring opportunities, or if you know someone who is looking out and exploring opportunities, make sure you check out career page of Recro. You should find something for yourself. Give us a follow on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn. The link is in the chat to stay updated with such session, and also follow Nishit on LinkedIn and connect with him if you have any questions. Thank you, everyone. I hope to see you guys in the next session. And in the meantime, do become a part of the community and join us there. Bye-bye. Take care.